Generosity. Of all the sources of strength that we will discuss or have discussed, I think it is truly the most powerful one. It is very difficult to be generous, that is, act in kindness or be giving, and at the same time be angry, sad, or frustrated. It is something that transforms you. It opens up the windows of the soul and unshackles you from things like depression, anger, and anxiety. In fact, I think that's because by its very definition, it's something that is positive. So, in doing so, you focus on good things, which stand in stark contrast with anything negative that is going on. Also, in helping others, you often come to realize you have a lot to give, and thus find a new sense of purpose. In addition, through helping others, one often comes to realize that things are not as bad as one thought it was. That is not to say that the suffering of one can be easily compared to that of another. We all suffer differently. We all have different experiences. We all have different tolerances. Life is tough for everyone. However, it truly is the case that in a lot of times, when you help others, you come to realize that things could be worse. Or, at the very least, that everybody could use some help and that we can all help each other out. Another positive thing to be gained by helping others is that you make connections. You actually become part of a larger circle. You actually assume roles that we have discussed in other sources of strength, like mentorship roles or friendship roles, or other roles that help people form a united group. And united, people stand a better chance. So it really is a kind of pay it forward kind of thing that ends up paying you back as well. Generosity can be in the small things, like random acts of kindness done for a complete stranger. Maybe someone that you passed on the street that didn't have something to eat. Someone that you bring home to give some food or shelter or clothing. Or maybe it is just a stranger in the hallway that has no one to talk to. It may or may not be sad, and perhaps could use a friend. Or maybe is a routine and intentional act that you do for someone that you love, like that kiss every morning or a hug every night, or washing the dishes for someone that usually does that. It's the little things. It could also be the big things. Giving up something that you have that is yours and yours alone so that someone else can have more. Giving up your time or your money for a cause, which often is called philanthropy. Volunteering, or even just sending or spreading a message of love, or spreading interest for a cause. All of these are different ways of being generous. And there are many others. But the really interesting thing is that people say that altruism is something that you're supposed to do without necessarily getting anything in return. But the truth is that all acts give you something back. For example, biology studies say that when we help people which are close to us, family members, these people are people who share some of our genes. So in doing so, we are actually helping genes that we have be passed forward by increasing the chances of those people surviving with the assistance that we give. Likewise, when we help people in a social group who may not necessarily share as many genes in common, we are also helping the spread of the entire species and the spread of all the genes within the social group. When we help others, others end up helping us in return. Not necessarily the same people, but by being contributing members of society, we all take from what society has to give. Each of us with our own special talents and skills and weaknesses helps complement the other. None of us has to get everything done because each of us do a little bit of the whole. That means even when we help society as a whole with a grander gesture, which actually helps all of humanity move forward, we are also doing the same, only in a larger scale. History is full of examples of people who did this, but even people who go unnamed in history, just people who spread a little drop of love here and there, may have contributed to shockwaves that changed the world forever. You never really know what all the effects of each act of kindness will be. But even without examining these kinds of secondary gains that people talk about when it comes to doing good things does immediate good for your own soul, for your own mind, for your own body. It makes you up and move. It makes you focus more. It helps you cleanse. It truly has a transformative power away from the negative and towards the positive. I learned this myself through some of the worst times in my life, when I was sick and supposed to be terminal with cancer, and when I broke up with someone that I had basically been with for nearly a decade. These times were terrible times. I also had a tough childhood, and it took a long time to get past the damage that people who are supposed to love me did to me. But in all of these moments of darkness, I found that it was acts of light which actually helped the most. By striking your own match in the darkness, you actually help spread a light. And if each of us can light up another candle by our acts, we can find each other no longer in darkness, but even on our own, doing that. Every time I did that, for example, I found myself picking myself up, if only to help somebody else stand up. And over time, I found myself standing higher and higher and taking more and more steps forward. Is what they say about love. It is a choice. It is a way of thinking. It is a decision that governs a set of actions. It is not something that happens to you. It is something that you make happen. People often confuse that with infatuation or with that sense of being in love. But love, true love, is all about being generous. It's about giving yourself up for the sake of others, even perhaps your enemies. But the real magic thing is that when you do that, you always get something in return by spreading like wildfire this message. In actuality, one of the highest levels of satisfaction a human can achieve is called self-transcendence. That is, working on things beyond the self. There is nothing truly more uniquely human than that, and nothing that showcases that more than generosity. That is truly the most powerful of these sources of strength. Go out there and be generous. And think about it today. In what ways you can do that? In what ways others have done that to you?